Hey guys, I'm back in New Jersey now, and I just wanted to give a little overview on things that I learned and what my experience was like in the Middle East. So, if any of you were following my stories and different things that I was posting, and I sent out a bunch of text messages before I ever went to the Middle East for prayer. So, first off, I appreciate all the prayers, anybody who was praying for me and thinking about me, and thanks so much for the support. So this experience was amazing. I was so thankful that I was able to do everything that I was able to do. I did it safely and smoothly, and everything worked out. Along with doing things in the ministry the whole time and working on a documentary, it was definitely time consuming. It was really tough. I wasn't in control of my time. The missionary that I was with, I was kind of just doing what he wanted to do every day, and all the times that I was with him. And so there was just a lot going on with all the services. So being able to post stuff with bad internet just wasn't able to happen. But I learned a lot, and it was a great experience. So basically, going in the Middle East, it's just a whole new world. Um, Usually, most of my trips, I went to Europe. I went to Europe for a month. I did go to Africa for 6 weeks, but when I was in Africa, the difference was I didn't really get too much of the cultural experience. I did a few days that we Bible studied with some people, but for the most part, we were pretty sheltered, and I didn't have to jump into the culture as much. On this trip, it was a lot different because, just for instance, I'm somewhat of a germaphobe. I know the Lord's gonna have to work on my heart about that, and I'm gonna have to get over that. But basically, when I was over there, almost every day we were going to different people's
Please come and
houses
join us.
and eating their food, and I just had to eat whatever was in front of me, and it tasted different and weird, and
I've got to
and
finish my
there was
coffee.
just a lot of challenges. And
Here we are on top of the mountain, and Dan is enjoying his coffee on a couch. I don't know how he found this couch, but he's hanging out with some new friends. How's your coffee, Dan?
Strong.
um, and so I remember at the orphanage, we were at the orphanage one day, and I walked into the cafeteria and I saw the big pot that they were serving the kids, and it just didn't look that great, and I wasn't sure how sanitary and everything it was. So I just said, "Oh, I'm not hungry." So the kids kept saying, "Oh, why don't you eat? Or you want to eat?" And I said, "No, I'm not hungry. I already ate before coming here." But the missionary walked in the room. He stood in line, and didn't think he saw me. I thought he would just kind of eat and not pay attention to me. But he was in line. He made sure he grabbed me a plate, put it in front of me, and walked away. And so, yeah, I was kind of forced to just eat that. And that kind of was the first few days of being there. So, kind of set the precedent of me doing that all the time. And we went to a lot of people's houses and ate whatever food they served us. So you don't want to offend people, and I didn't want to offend them, especially their culture. They're super hospitable, and they want to make sure that they feed you good, and they make sure they feed you more than you need. And when you say no, it's just really hard to say no, because you say no and they don't listen, they just do it. Sometimes you have to say no 5 to 10 times before they just yeah, that was one thing, the food. One of the main tough things was just the language, obviously. Not being able to speak their language, it just made me realize if I ever want to have an impact there, or I ever want to reach anybody there, I need to learn Arabic. And so that's going to be super important for me to do. I spent a lot of time working on the documentary, filming most of it, and then taking the footage and putting it on my hard drive. And that a lot of times took hours. So I had a lot of time that I did that, but I wasn't able to edit much of it. There's still some footage that I would hope to get for that documentary, and still a lot of things that I want to do to put that together. So hopefully it turns out good, and a lot of people learn a lot of different things from it. And basically, it's just going to be about the missionary's life. So coming back home, after going to Turkey, to Jordan, and Lebanon, Egypt, um, and going to United Arab Emirates, which is next to Saudi Arabia. When I came home, I could just only think of how blessed we are and how blessed I have been growing up in New Jersey and growing up in America. And it made me think of just how thankful I should be and how ungrateful I am. I've taken other trips before and I didn't really feel this way too much, but on this trip I truly, truly felt that way. And I don't know if it had something to do with the other trips that I took. I didn't. I think part of it was I didn't have to come out of my cocoon. I was able to kind of stay in my comfort zone even out of the country. I think that happens a lot when we go out of the country. We want to have everything that we have in America. We just want to say we're in a different country, and this time it wasn't like that. So just to give an overview of what I did, I went to Egypt for 2 weeks. Most of that was a conference that was like 5 days. And then other days I went around the city and was able to meet people and get footage. And then I went to Lebanon, and I was in Lebanon for 4 weeks. After that, I went to Jordan for 2 days because Jordan was only 3-hour flight, and it was right there. Getting to Petra was not easy. That was pretty tough. The reason I'll say that is because I had a lot of bags with me and expensive equipment. People I met, there are other people there, and they're just kind of a lot of backpackers that I met, and they don't have a lot of fear. And I think part of that is because they just have a backpack with clothes and whatever. But when I have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff in my bags, and I have 2 big bags that I have to roll around, and a backpack that's super heavy, it's just a total different ball game. If anybody sees my stuff, they can do whatever, they can call their friend and speak a different language, and I would never know. And so in Lebanon, I felt pretty safe the whole time. There's one time I didn't when I went south in the city. It's Hezbollah area, and I was there at night, and it's very Islamic, and I was there with my camera. It was only my 6D, and I just felt kind of sketchy because I was near a mosque, and I felt like if anybody saw me, they might kind of want to try to rob me, especially when I was there at late. So, anyways, in Jordan, I didn't feel safe. I definitely felt a lot less safe, especially with all of my stuff. But I tried to stay low-key. The first day was basically just traveling the whole time. I waited 4 hours for a bus to come. I met some people from Colombia. Just kind of got an idea of what Jordan's like. Definitely more like Egypt and less like Lebanon. Yeah, getting to Petra on a budget, that was definitely not very fun. Wow. People live a lot different there. The internet was better, but it was definitely more closer to a third world country. Although they had a lot of the nice things, but I mean, most of their income is from tourism. So, being there is just quite the experience, seeing how a lot of them live, seeing that they're not well taken care of, a lot of them. There's these small villages and people working in Petra. A lot of the kids, all their teeth are rotten before they're, 10 years old. It's just sad to see all their back teeth already out when they're teenagers, and just seeing, they don't take showers and not clean. It's just really sad to see that. So that was a huge eye-opener, especially in the desert and the mountains. It's, wow, quite a different life. I could only imagine as I was flying over Jordan and as I was flying over the Sinai Peninsula of how the children of Israel were walking through that, and then, going through the desert for 40 years, and I thought, wow, how could you keep a good attitude? And so just seeing that for the first time, it was definitely an eye opener. I just thought of how much I complain as a Christian and how ungrateful I am a lot of times, and how much I think I deserve and I want. And I just think of the children of Israel for 40 years leaving Egypt, where it was vegetable, and going into this desert land. I mean, you go to Jordan and you drive south of Jerusalem, and it's just desert, desert, desert. It's when I went down there, I tried to find a church. I tried to ask people who knew Jordan about a church, and I didn't find out anything. So I don't know anything as far as any churches go. I did meet a guy from Saudi Arabia, and so maybe there's a possibility that I can learn Arabic and get my foot in the door in that country. So then I went to Turkey, and that was obviously much more European. It was very Islamic, but it was definitely not as third world at all. I was in Istanbul, which is obviously nicer, and they have a lot of new stuff, and it was really nice there from what I saw. So that city was cool. It just smelled really bad, almost like sewer system everywhere. I don't think they have a good sewer system. I think they kind of just suck out everything at night with the big trucks. That's what I saw anyway. So, yeah, I just got some footage there. I met some people, and Turkey, I had a good time. And then obviously going to UAE and seeing again Abu Dhabi, just like a smaller Dubai, and it's just crazy how much money some of these people have and what they spend it on. And it's just crazy to think. I just came from orphanage where these kids don't have ID. After they turn 18, they're back on the streets. There's no hope for them. Nobody can adopt these kids. They don't. When the cops catch them, they go to jail. They don't have IDs. Like, their life is just no hope, and they can starve to death. And there's these people in Syria that are dying and starving to death, and you just think to yourself, like, after seeing all this poverty in the Middle East, and then you see that these people building towers with their name on it, and just cities that are just so rich, and you're like, how do you have money for that when people are starving in the world? It just makes me sick. And so coming back home, obviously I stopped in England for a couple of days, but coming back home, it just made me think about a lot of things, and how, you know, all the airlines that I've been on, I leaving for this trip, I didn't go on any kind of American airline. But on the way back, I finally got on an American airline, and they had a huge attitude. I mean, right when I got on the plane, I said to the guy, it wasn't even a full plane, and I said, hey, could I get a glass of water? You know, they had us standing in line for a while. I wasn't able to get any water or anything. And he said, what do you think, this is a restaurant? And it was just kind of the attitude of all the workers. But it wasn't just toward us, it was toward each other too. And I just thought, wow, from where I just came from and everything I just witnessed, and these people still have a smile on their face. Like, they're still happy, they're still having a smile on their face, and they're homeless. And then I come to the richest, I come to the place where these people come from the richest country of America, and they have all the advantages, and there's still this attitude, this ungrateful attitude. And it's just crazy to think that. And then when I got back to the airport, man, I got attitude after attitude from cops. I mean, almost like they just wanted to fight, and it was just like, what is the deal? So it's just super sad and pathetic. You know, when I was over in the Middle East, I thought I would see some really bad stuff, and it would be a lot worse than America ever could be. But you know, the sad part is, when I was over there, I keep seeing in the news how there's a shooting in Texas, shooting in Ohio, and then a shooting in Philadelphia, and then people are throwing stuff at cops, and all this crazy stuff. And, you know, yeah, there's a war going on in Syria, but I mean, that stuff's not even going on in the Middle East. And they're looking at us like we're the crazy ones. And it's just so pathetic to think we have all the advantages. You know, another thing is, all these countries that I went to, They all want to know if you're from America. And if you give them any hint that you're from America, you pay an American tax, which is 4 times as much as anybody else. They're going to try and try and try to get money out of you, and you just cannot get away from it. And there's a reason why is because they know we're making more. All they have to do is go online and see the currency rate, and they see that our dollar is worth more than theirs, obviously, and how much more it is. And they think they have a right to get more money from us. They think you owe it to us. That was the attitude that I got from a lot of people. Which, by the way, as a side note, I've worked a lot harder than I see a lot of these people working. A lot of them are lazy, so I don't care. Even if they were here, they would try to get handouts anyways, so it's not even about that. But still, we do have a lot of advantages, and we are a rich country, and these people are just still ungrateful. It just makes sense when Jesus says in Luke chapter 4, verse 18 and 19, how he's come to heal the brokenhearted, to preach the gospel to the poor and to the helpless. And it just makes me think of all these people in the world that really need to hear Jesus' message, and how America, if it doesn't get its act together, it really doesn't. It's not going to see itself as lost. And Jesus says, "I've come to seek and to save that which was lost." So, it just made me think of the fact that I could really get comfortable here in America. I mean, I could really get comfortable. And as I was watching the missionary and his life and everything that he's given up to be a missionary, it just made me think of the true sacrifice that following the Lord and really seeking his will and living for him is not a life of being comfortable and getting what I want. It's a life of sacrifice, and it's a life of giving up who you are. It's a life of giving up things that are crutches, are things that are getting in the way of really accomplishing what God wants from you and from all Christians. And the thing is that there's obviously the general will of God, which applies to all Christians, and the specific will of God. And as we look in the Bible, the general will of God is this very thing, that we would lose our lives for his sake. And his sake isn't losing our life as a Christian or as a lost person and living a party life so that we could just live a pure, clean, rich life. No. Losing our life means that we follow the Lord and we use the advantage that we have as Americans and with the education we have and everything, to go to the poor, to go to the brokenhearted, to go to the blind, the lame. And, this just made me think of how, as I learn the Arabic language, I don't know if the Lord's going to have me do it here or there, but I don't have much longer here, I don't think. And I really don't think I have much longer on earth. And it just makes me think this world's not my home. And I'm just passing through. And I'm not afraid of death. And when I enter into this field and into this future, all I could think of is it's better for me to be in heaven. And if I can win some people to the Lord, especially those who are genuine and those who know their need for God and those who are in so much pain as they're on earth and need God, I just want to give my life to that. So there's a lot more I could say, and thanks so much for watching. I'm excited for the future, but I'm also I'm prepared to let go of myself and who I am, and I know that's what's just going to have to happen, and it's going to be a long process, and I hope it's not as painful. But anyways, I'm excited for what the future holds, and I'm so thankful for what God has taught me during this trip. If you guys have any questions, comment below. I'll make sure I'll get back to you. And thanks for watching. Until next time, peace.